Well, I'm delighted that Anthony Webber is joining us in the studio. Normally we're doing it via sometimes a dodgy link to Guernsey or wherever else you are.
Yes.
Freedom of information is definitely the thing that you're here to talk to us about.
Yes, that's right.
And we're a bit remiss because you did have a massive success about a month or so ago, and I don't know what the news agenda was doing, but we didn't get round to talking to you at the time.
Yes.
And I want you to go back and roughly tell everyone what that was about, because it was Syrian refugees, but you opened a can of worms from all accounts, and people didn't want to tell you what was going on. Have I summed that up all right so far?
Yes, no, that's correct. Well, first of all, I'm very grateful to be invited to the Isle of Man, because I haven't been here for about 20 years.
You were here for Timble Day?
Yes, thanks to Mrs. Kate Beecroft, who kindly invited me. So I had the whole show, the ceremonial aspect and everything else, and a very good day, met lots of people, very positive, and I think should be a lot more sort of interchange of people between the three Crown dependencies.
A lot of civil servants wouldn't like you here, though. I'm sure you caused some grief. I mean, in this business with freedom of information, Syrian refugees was one question you asked. You couldn't seem to get a straight answer, and who had signed what? And was the government running the government, or were the civil servants running the government?
Yes, there's a lot of that. But I mean, first of all, you can't really say who is responsible. There's a lot of good civil servants. Who knows what discussions there were behind the scenes. But this goes back to around about 2015-ish, when the Isle of Man, Guernsey and Jersey were considering taking Syrian refugees. And a lot of controversy, a lot of people speaking in favour and against. And I asked some freedom of information questions to the UK Home Office on the subject of the communications between them and the three Crown dependencies. And cutting long story short, they denied revealing that set of communications. It then had to go to internal review, that was turned down, and then the procedure is to go to the Information Commissioner. That had a long investigation, that was turned down, and I then had the option of going to a tribunal, and it went to the tribunal, and the tribunal unanimously decided in favour of releasing the communications, saying that it was definitely in the public interest to do so.
What was this information that they didn't want coming out? Can you explain that briefly? And was it the same for all three islands?
Well, there are three sets of communications. Some of them are fairly similar, but they're between the Home Office and Guernsey, Jersey and the Isle of Man, with some interchange. But one of the problems is that it's taken 3 years to get this information.
3 years?
Yes, so we're 3 years out of date. There's been no request put in for communications since then, and it doesn't cover communications with other government departments on the subject, like the Ministry of Justice, who deal with the Crown Dependancies department. What was sort of basically revealed was a number of communications, but some of it was taken out, and also there were minutes of meetings, minutes of telephone calls, which we weren't given. So they may well deny they even existed, but this is one of the problems you've got with the freedom of information laws, which is, they do need reviewing. But fundamentally, one could ask, 3 years after the event, was there anything really eye-opening in the information? Well, the answer to that is the Information Commissioner, when they first looked into the matter, they asked the Home Office why they wanted the information not to be disclosed, and the UK Home Office said they didn't want it disclosed. They didn't think it was in the public interest to disclose it, because they felt if it was disclosed, then the Crown Dependencies wouldn't take any Syrian refugees. But more to the point, they said that they felt that it would influence hundreds of UK local authorities for not taking Syrian refugees. So that was really the issue, to stifle the debate on the matter. So if one looks at the sort of communications forensically, that if you read between the lines, that's basically what the situation is. And you could argue all this delay has actually succeeded, because there are a lot of local authorities who made decisions on refugees without having the information. And of course the same applies to Guernsey, Jersey and the Isle of Man, that sort of decisions were made to not take Syrian refugees, but it hasn't completely gone off the back burner because, as you know, it came back to the Isle of Man in November when there was a debate, but even then they didn't have any full range of information.
Okay, but can we deal now with the Isle of Man and who's making decisions? Because I think this is a bit that really interests me. Is Howard Quayle making the decision, i.e. the government, or are chief secretaries / civil servants? And this is very fundamental to what you were finding out, right?
Yes, well, the first key point to mention is that the 3 Crown Dependencies, including the Isle of Man, did not get involved in the tribunal process for whatever reason, up until the decision was made for the information to be disclosed. At that stage, when the Home Office put in an appeal, it was supported by a letter from 3 senior Crown Dependency civil servants, and at that stage I got in touch with various politicians, and one key one who responded was Mrs. Kate Beecroft, who wanted to know why there had been this decision made by civil servants without any political authority. Anyway, she asked a number of questions in the Isle of Man, and some interesting answers, but
did they give you a proper answer? I can't remember now.
Well, it appeared that the chief civil servant had authorised the action, and
without
the knowledge of the chief minister.
I mean, that's huge, right?
Yes,
but that's a massive bit of, I mean, who's running the country sort of thing, isn't it?
Well, I think it is, and I think it was a similar situation in Guernsey and Jersey, although they're all slightly different, but somebody coordinated all this, and it's a shame there was this coordination on an issue of being secretive, because I'd rather there's coordination on more important issues. But yes, there was that issue as to it seemed that there was sort of political okaying, so to speak, after the event. But you have to bear in mind, at this time, and indeed later, I wrote to the authorities, not just in the Isle of Man, but the Jersey and Guernsey, and I said, look, don't get involved in this, please, because it will cause reputational damage to the 3 Crown Dependencies if we're seen as trying to be secretive with the way we do things, because there'd already been accusations from UK MPs in respect to beneficial ownership that we were not open and transparent. And I thought, well, this is going to give our detractors, easy stuff to use. And I think it was a poor judgment call to go ahead on this, because you have to bear in mind it was a unanimous decision to reveal the communications. So I do think there should be some accountability.
Well, this is obviously much more to it, so we'll have a part 2 of this interview.